You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered. This right here is my favorite thing.
So I just got done rewatching the abysmal iDubbbz abortion video, and though I am not surprised by his takes, what did surprise me is how painfully unfunny this guy has become.
Ever use these on your butthole? It doesn't work out well. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of iDubbbz Complains. Today, I'm going to be complaining about a little bit of a heavier topic than portion sizes at Cold Stone. This is a video about abortion. It's a very big topic, a very serious topic, I know. I'm going to treat it with all the respect that it deserves, all the sanctity that it deserves.
Ian is a 34-year-old man, and this is what he thinks is funny now. You get it? This is talking about a serious topic while playing with his feet. Very silly indeed. I am genuinely confused on who this video is even supposed to appeal to at this point. He made a joke about wiping his ass with Clorox wipes. He then made a weird edit where he turns into a fish, and then he acted like a literal child in an attempt at ironic humor. That right there must be the comedy gold. I mean, my feeble chud mind can never understand the complexities of the liberal, progressive genius known as Ian Joma. Whatever happened to this guy's sense of humor, you might be asking? Well, I'll tell you, Anisa took it. She has it in her purse, right next to his manhood. But she's gonna be very disappointed when she finds out the funny bone is not something she can shove up her pussy. The last time we talked about Ian and his handler, I was glad to see them taking some accountability for alienating half their audience in recent years, but it appears that moment of clarity was short-lived, as now Ian has set a new course, a new mission to defend women from online chuds like myself.
Stop it right there, Charlie Kirk. I really don't like the way you talk about these women.
Whether or not you support abortion, this video is objectively awful. From the punchlines to the actual attempts at an argument, iDubbbz fails both on the comedic level and the intellectual level. Everything from strawmanning arguments to arguing logical fallacies, it shows that iDubbbz is not actually smart enough to be making this video to begin with. Also, I would say iDubbbz has not advocated enough for pedophilia to be a true left-wing activist yet. Ian, just put the hair in the cake, bro. Leave the left-wing politics to the professionals.
It is possible for an adult and a child to have a sexual relationship and for it to have positive outcomes on the child as well.
If you just because you molest a child doesn't make you a pedophile. That's not
Yes, it does.
So Ian begins his video by comparing the male orgasm to the birth of a child, all while downplaying the significance, the role of a mother by referring to a woman with kids as a baby maker.
What is a woman's value? I guess you can narrow it down to reproductive organs. Like, okay, her value is giving birth.
Based? Based? Hello?
That is what the secularist left would like, apparently, is you take away the thing that makes women most women, i.e. getting married and having children. You take those things away from them, and then that will make them the happiest they have ever been. There's only one problem. There is no data to support that anywhere on Earth.
To take the part of you that is the most unique to your sex and then discard that or treat that as though that is a downside to who you are, it's antithetical to what womanhood is. It's very puzzling.
It's not even remotely puzzling. Let's just stop for a moment and think about why this is so fucking stupid. Why would you discard what makes you so incredible as a male? Your ability to bust. Your ability to bust is just so fantastic. I mean, you create the seed of life, Ben. Why would you discard that like it's a downside? It's not a downside. You should be busting left and right, Benjamin. Benjamin Shapiro, you are the bust king. Women do not want to be known as, I was gonna say the bust queens. I think a lot of women would prefer not to be known as baby maker, and she kind of does art on the side. Baby maker, and she does baking. She makes a pretty good souffle. She's a baby maker, and she sells some clothes on Depop. I'm not gonna forget that this is what they do. They have reminders every month of what they are and what they can do with their body. They don't need that to be their title. Just like you and I don't need Buster Extraordinaire is our title.
This is all based on a straw man argument that conservatives only believe that a woman is valuable for her reproductive ability. Yet Ian provides zero clips of any conservative saying this, obviously. Instead, he plays clips of Ben Shapiro saying that one of the distinct differences of a woman from a man is their ability to create life. Ben did not say that the only thing that makes a woman valuable is her ability to be a mother. He was simply saying that motherhood is being downplayed by people on the left. You know, literally what Ian was doing by referring to them as baby makers, but here we are. Actually, I think a lot of women would put mother ahead of almost anything else on their title. In the exact same way, most men would put father ahead of almost anything else on their title. People who have kids tend to be proud of having kids. I know Ian wouldn't understand this. The whole comparing childbearing to ejaculation is not surprising coming from the husband of the woman who refers to babies as parasites.
Some of my favorite retweets that I get on Twitter are people who literally retweet my shit and they're like, childless. And I'm like, yes, I try really hard at that, actually. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for noticing that I've managed to protect my womb from a parasite for the past 30 years.
But it's still stupid, and so let me break it down really slow for Ian. A bust, as he refers to it, takes on average 2 to 5 minutes to complete. Creating a developed human baby inside of the womb takes 9 months. A bust is simply pleasure, whereas carrying a baby to term is a painful and sometimes life-threatening endeavor. To pretend like these two natural things are equal is ridiculous. Nothing quick, easy, and pleasurable in life is worth bragging about. Now, for Ian's argument to make sense, he would then have to argue that being a mother takes no skill, and that carrying a baby to term is only pleasureful. I'd like to hear from all the baby makers in the comments about that one. The next thing that Ian does is he argues from hypocrisy. He rightfully points out that a lot of conservative influencers that are saying that women should be prioritizing motherhood ahead of their careers are the same conservative influencers who either married a career woman in their 30s or are career women in their 30s.
Ben Shapiro will constantly use his wife as an example of what is fulfilling to a woman, specifically a mother and a wife, but he does this after his wife has graduated, worked as a doctor, and now has kids. And I think the reason that your wife finds fulfillment out of being a mother is because she has something to compare it to, which is a career. And you can't play this game where you're like, my wife ended up finding more fulfillment, therefore women are going to find more fulfillment out of being a mother. Let them decide that on their own. The fact that they continue to spew this rhetoric is so fucking insane to me because so many of these men are married to career women. Women who got a job as a doctor, women who went through college and ended up having a career and did their career for a while and then had children.
We should say focus on family formation in your early 20s, then go to college in your late 30s.
And then in their early 30s, they get really upset because they say, you know, the boys don't want to date me anymore because they're not at their prime. And people get mad when I say that. Well, it's just true. If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry, it's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s. But again, you have your corporate job and cats, so I thought you know.
I'm pretty unsympathetic to the fact that Charlie Kirk thinks his wife is hotter in her 20s than she is now. What I take issue with is the fact that he's telling so many young people that they should get married and have kids in their 20s and postpone their careers till their 30s and 40s. But that is not what he did, and that's not what many of his colleagues did. If that's not what you did, you need to pair your rhetoric with, I fucked up. He should be telling all these women on this podcast, I fucked up. Me and all my conservative colleagues who spent our early 20s grinding, we shouldn't have done that. It is crazy the amount of strays that are coming out of these people's mouths. All of their rhetoric can apply to Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, Laura Ingraham, all of these like right-wing women who decided to focus in their 20s on grinding. Like many men are able to do, they decided to forego having kids and wait until they were in their 30s, or I think in some cases their 40s, to have kids. You're not gonna hear Ben Shapiro lampooning Candace Owens for waiting until she was 30 to have kids.
Now, here is the issue with this argument. It really isn't that iDubbbz is wrong for pointing this out. I mean, it makes sense why he did. It's just that him pointing it out really doesn't matter. Arguments from hypocrisy are logical fallacies for this reason. Let's say that I was addicted to a drug, and while high on the drug, I tell people that they shouldn't do the drug. Does that all of a sudden make doing the drug a good thing simply because I was being hypocritical? No. The entire intention for this line of argumentation is to just discredit the messenger rather than the message. It doesn't make what the person's saying wrong, it just makes that person seem less credible. He doesn't make a very solid case for why women should be focusing on their career before having children. He basically just says, well, these conservative guys over here did it, so why not everyone else? Which I could give you a few reasons why you shouldn't wait to have kids. Waiting 10 years after establishing a career, as iDubbbz is recommending.
Even if they're led astray and they get a career as a lawyer, after doing that for a few years, 10 years, they'll be like, okay, I'm ready for something different.
Would drastically decrease your chances of ever being pregnant in the future. If you get out of college at 22 and spend 10 years in your career, as iDubbbz says you should, you only have 3 years before your fertility starts to drastically decrease. That is fine if you only want 1 or 2, but if you want to have a big family, that's when you're really up against the clock for time. Also, hopefully while you were focusing on that career of yours, you were simultaneously dating with the intention of finding the one. Because if not, at 32 years old, you will be scrambling to find a man who is making as much as you, if not more than you, and who also only wants to have a couple of kids and is willing to date a woman in her 30s. Because let's face it, most men in their 30s will be dating chicks in their 20s. That's because they want to have more kids. That's just how it is. Most people miss out on the opportunity to have children because they didn't have a partner at the right time. Not to mention that there is a birth rate crisis in every single Western country because women have already been postponing having children for their careers. This happens in large part due to the normalization of deferring childbearing to a later date, which is actually what iDubbbz is advocating for. Let's say you're a Zoomer, like myself, who doesn't have kids. You are in your mid-20s now, but you see that there are plenty of millennials ahead of you in their 30s that don't have kids. So you're not even worried about it. You're not probably even thinking about having kids at all. Many people get tricked by this generational comparison into believing that they have all the time in the world. If the generation ahead hasn't done it, I don't need to do it yet. That is until they are in their late 30s and it has become almost impossible to have kids. That's the biggest thing that these conservative influencers are trying to get across to everyone, is that you actually don't have as much time as you think. By the time a woman hits 30 years old, they only have a 50% chance of ever becoming a mother. By the time they are 40, it drops down to 5% if they've never had a kid. iDubbbz also gets pressed by Charlie Kirk telling a college girl that having kids is more important than her career.
There's a clip of this young conservative woman who's trying to reach Charlie Kirk and basically say what about women having careers? And he just completely shuts her down.
Many women, a majority, 90+% deep down, have this urge to reproduce and to raise children, and we are telling them to forsake that and go become a CEO of a shoe company.
A better way to propose feminism in the public media would be not to eliminate having children and tell women that they shouldn't have children, but to figure out your career first before you decide to settle down, because you can't really undo that once you have kids.
So I think it's the exact opposite. I think you should have kids first, then do your career, because which one has a timetable on it?
True, but once you have kids, you're committed to that, and you can't really have as much of a career, so you should kind of define your I guess what I'm trying to say.
Kids are way more important than being, a data scientist at Dropbox.
But
this clip pisses me off so much because he's being very disingenuous. He's trying to, in this moment, elevate the role of a mother as being the most important thing ever. And you would be stupid to have your sights set on any of these other career options. A data scientist, well, you'd be a fucking moron to want to be a data scientist at Dropbox.
Kids are way more important than being a data scientist at Dropbox.
What happens when you speak to men? You want to spend your life going to different college campuses because you think the textbooks are too woke? That's the most unimportant thing ever.
Let me preface this point by stating first that women are more impressed by a man's career than men are by a woman's career. A man will date a moderately attractive girl working at McDonald's if she's nice enough to him. Whereas a moderately attractive man would have a hell of a time even getting a woman to respond to his DMs if he's working at McDonald's. Men are not turned on that you went to college, you have a prestigious title, and you make a bunch of money. And so if we're trying to create a societal structure that promotes having children and getting married? Would it be more beneficial for society to encourage women to postpone their careers or for men to postpone their careers? Someone is going to have to be making the money in order to support the family. So which societal structure do you think would promote better outcomes? Now, finally, at about the halfway mark of this video, iDubbbz finally gets to the main subject, which is the topic of abortion. This part of the video is very interesting to me for multiple reasons. For starters, I thought a part of the leftist view on abortion is that if you're a man, you're not allowed to speak about abortion. I mean, if you're a man, you're not even supposed to have an opinion on abortion, more or less make a video on it. Maybe Anisa wrote this part of the video for him and he is simply parroting the women-approved talking points? I don't know. It's all very strange to me. But then he gives the examples for what he believes are legitimate reasons for seeking an abortion. This is just hysterical to me, because after understanding the conservative view of abortion, none of these things he mentions would ever be considered valid by any stretch of the imagination. And what I mean by this is that conservatives believe that abortion is murder and life begins at conception. iDubbbz does not dispute this point, he just simply avoids it.
Pro-life people will often boil down the reasons women have abortions into like 3-ish categories. 1, to protect the life of the mother. 2, rape or incest. And 3, convenience.
And now they want to be able to use scientific medical technology out of convenience?
Vast majority of them are abortions of convenience and choice.
So most are abortions out of convenience.
Critical of your witness
25% of
situation.
all abortions in this country are done out of economic convenience. Do you think that's okay? We're going to keep on allowing abortion out of narcissism, convenience, and not taking responsibility.
Now, obviously, convenience can include many things. In fact, I have a long list of things. This is from Oklahoma. There's only so many states in the U.S. who will actually track the reasons a woman got an abortion, and each state does it a bit differently. I found that Oklahoma is very thorough. And when you plot all of these reasons on a pie chart, it actually starts to look a little bit different than this pie chart where it's like, oh, look at all these abortions out of convenience. There are a lot of extremely valid reasons as to why someone would get an abortion that would fall under Charlie Kirk's umbrella of convenience. If having a child is going to affect your mental health at all, abortion out of convenience. Abusive partner, anyone in your life who's fucking abusive and is going to be close to your child, that would be an abortion out of convenience. Not having the finances, literally not being able to afford taking care of a child. These are all very valid reasons to get an abortion.
Just because someone might make you a bit anxious, or because your boyfriend might be abusive to them, or even because you might be broke, does not give you the right to murder an innocent person. In order to win the argument of abortion against a conservative, you would either A, have to explain how abortion is different than murder, or B, justify murder. If your argument does not justify the use of deadly force, your argument is meaningless. The best part is after that, he tries to compare an abortion to putting your parents in a nursing home.
If you put your elderly father in a home because you have 4 kids you have to take care of and a wife that relies on you, no one's going to say that you did that out of convenience. They're going to say, oh yeah, I can understand. That's a lot of people to take care of, and one additional person, would make it a lot harder.
Ian, those two things are not the same. You aren't signing your parents' death sentence when you drop them off at an assisted living center. A better comparison would be if you took old Pa out back and gave him the old Yeller treatment simply because you couldn't afford to take care of him. Does Ian think that when you drop an old person off at a nursing home, they just get euthanized on the spot? Or does he just not understand what an abortion is? You don't have the option to go and visit your aborted child on the weekends, Ian. They aren't the same. Ironically, directly after this, Ian starts spurging about how women actually know what an abortion is and they aren't stupid.
All of these women know what abortion is. They're not fucking confused by it. They know that it's killing the baby.
Ian, you literally just compared an abortion to an assisted living center as if they were in any way similar. Maybe you should sit this one out. The vast majority of the remainder of this video is just iDubbbz grilling Charlie Kirk for his inconsistencies. And I really am no great fan of Charlie Kirk, and so I don't really care much to defend him, though a few things do stand out to me. This video is called Your Body, My Birth Vessel, which is in direct response to Nick Fuentes tweeting "Your Body, My Choice" on election day. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will leave a card in the top right corner of this video to my last video on that situation. But Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes hate each other. Charlie Kirk has never said "Your body, my choice," so I don't understand where the fixation came from on attacking Charlie, other than that Charlie is basically just low-hanging fruit given all of his wildly inconsistent views on things like welfare and immigration. I don't hate Charlie. I just in no way feel obligated to defend him. As I stated before, I hate politics, but I enjoy understanding political theory. I am no shill for any team or faction in politics. But the last thing that is said in this video is so ridiculous that I feel the need to address it. After showing multiple back-to-back clips of Charlie saying that no matter how fractured the Republicans are over the topic of abortion, he will keep fighting for the pro-life cause, iDubbbz somehow walked away from that, not convinced that Charlie actually cares about the pro-life movement.
I'll wrap this thing up by saying that these guys are well aware that they're losing the war.
It seems to me this is always going to be a loser for Republicans.
I understand it's not politically feasible. I understand people like abortion, but I'm going to keep on standing for moral truth, even if it's unpopular.
There will be some people that say, Charlie, stop talking about this issue. It's a losing issue. First of all, who cares?
And so we've lost the culture war to a certain extent on abortion. And what Donald Trump is doing right now is trying to win this election.
Based on the vibes I'm getting, it really feels like a lot of these people are not that committed to the pro-life movement.
Ian, that is arguably the one and only thing that Charlie has actually been consistent on. If the entire Republican Party is moving away from anti-abortion legislation, and Charlie is saying that he is still dedicated to the cause regardless of that fact, I don't understand how anyone could say then that Charlie doesn't actually believe in the pro-life movement. He is literally risking election defeats for his political party in order to advocate on behalf of the pro-life cause. Sounds to me like he believes it. If anything, it just sounds like wishful thinking on iDubbbz's part. As I stated in the beginning of this video, I don't think iDubbbz is actually cut out for online politics, though I'm going to make a pretty bold prediction right now. Given that this is now his most popular video that he's posted within the past year, I would not be surprised if Anisa pushes him into becoming a true left-wing political commentator by the end of the year. It already seems like they're heading that direction as it is, so I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to tell me what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.